So I used to be with Microsoft and took a year off. And this is the first time I'm coming to Hyderabad for the biggest fruit. So I moved from the biggest software to the biggest fruit. Okay, so this morning when I was taking the flight, I had to say something about what is it I'm going to do today. Okay, so I'll tell you a story about breaking free. The journey of breaking free, the humble jackfruit, from a state waste to a state fruit. And as I finish the talk, the Assembly of Kerala will pass the confidence motion to say that the jackfruit is Kerala's state fruit. It will happen today. Okay. And when I started off 5 years ago, I was writing a book. Looking through the window, I could see this jackfruit on the tree. And in fact, we have got many others here. So I took a year off to write a book about how I moved back, went to the US, came to UK, and then came back to India, and moved back to my hometown in a village in Kerala. I went on to work for Microsoft from a village. But my office was in the metros. So how I managed that from a village, what I call the joy of working for India and living in Bharat. And that was why I took a year off to write the book. And while writing the book, I could see this fruit. And it is growing every day and began constant focus. Like Anita mentioned about the opportunity was in front of me and staring at me every day. So I thought I'll spend a year to change the perception about this jackfruit. It was the humble jackfruit, the IE chakka, okay, which means the yucky, inferior. Nobody want to touch it. 80% of jackfruit in India, 2,000 crores worth of jackfruit in India drops down from the tree every year. And it goes as a biomass waste. But I grew up with jackfruit. My uncle used to say that if you have a jackfruit tree in your yard, your life extends by 10 years. He wouldn't tell me why, but that is how it was, okay? So when I started looking at this fruit, I said, okay, look, what is the most, in fact, this previous speaker spoke about humility. What is the most common adjective which you find when authors or writers write about jackfruit? The humble jackfruit. Because nobody has done any justice to that fruit. That is why it is called the humble jackfruit. So I said, okay, look, I have done marketing, I have done engineering, I have done, so I should be able to do something for this fruit. So let me rebrand it from the inferior to the superior. So first 1 year, while I was writing this book, I made it available in the 5-star hotels. And I canvassed many chefs, and it became galati kebab, it became chimmin chakka lasagna, it became the jackfruit panna cotta, it became kofta lassis. So we had all the 5-star dishes from different parts of India converted with the jackfruit, so we could replace tofu, meat, cauliflower. We had a jackfruit Manchurian, and potato, and then we had apple, peach. So anything you name it, the chefs would replace it, because I had removed all the mess and I gave them in a freeze-dried form so it's easy. It's like pasta from a pack. But this journey took off, and the media took it by storm by saying, okay, somebody left Microsoft for jackfruit. How stupid is that, right? So that is why it became major story from Economic Times to Manorama. It was cover story. But then that brought a lot of people who had some knowledge about jackfruit to me. And the turning point was exactly 4 years ago, 2014, April. A priest came and told me and asked me, is it possible? Okay, before I even start that, so I asked the driver, what do you call jackfruit in Telugu? Panasa?
Panasakai.
Panasakai. And what is Panasa Pandu? Okay, so what is the English word for kai? Stuck. Stuck, right? So are you stuck? I mean, what is the English word for kai? Vegetable. But you have a different word for vegetable, pachakari, or so you have a different word for, there's a different word for vegetable. So kai the English word is green fruit. So green mango, green apple. So when I was at Microsoft, I always used PowerPoint. But now I use a power plate. Okay, so I'll come to that. So this priest came and told me, I have eaten chakka as a meal, which is a tradition in Kerala. Like you have the mashed potato, there is a mash which made with the green jackfruit just before it turns ripe. We make a meal with it. And he took this meal for dinner one day. And he used to take insulin for the last 5 years. One night he took insulin right after this meal, and he collapsed. And it happened to him twice, and he became hypoglycemic. So I was worried, if somebody takes my packet and takes insulin and dies, am I going to be liable? That was my worry. So that led to a fundamental research on, is the green jackfruit, the Panasakai, as an alternate to rice and roti, is it good for diabetes or bad for diabetes? So first I looked at, is there any published evidence to show that, and because 50 years Kerala said jackfruit is bad for diabetes. And the Malayalam translation was, chakka is bad for diabetes, and chakkaparam, which is the panasa, pandu, is bad for diabetes. So both were made bad for diabetes. So is there any study out there which says, I looked at the nutrition values, it is 40% low in carbohydrate compared to rice, 40% low in calorie compared to rice, and 4 times more fiber compared to rice. So all things which you're supposed to do for diabetes is in favor of the green jackfruit. But why is it you're saying you should not eat chakka? So there was no published study out there which says chakka is bad for diabetes. So then I looked at, is there any published study out there which says chakka is good for diabetes? There was one, Ceylon Medical Journal. There's only one place on earth which eats the way Kerala eats chakka, as a meal. So you make a meal with the mature unripe, madhyapakvam lavanadi yuktam. So mid-ripe jackfruit is when you're supposed to consume the most. That is where the Sanskrit text says. So that is custom is in Kerala and in Sri Lanka. So Sri Lanka did a study on this, and the glycemic study of the green jackfruit as a meal showed that when you take the food, normally the sugar level goes up, and over 2 hours it gradually comes down with the rice. When you take the green jackfruit meal, it goes up, and after 30 minutes it comes down. And the glycemic load value was 13 compared to 29 for rice. So which means in 2 hours, the amount of sugar increase in your body is half of rice. So this is all clear, and I went back and spoke to many doctors. Some of them tried, but there was no luck. And by this time, Penguin published my book, and the first copy went to Dr. Kalam, and he called me for a meeting. He wanted to know what the hell am I doing with jackfruit after leaving Microsoft. So I went to him, and I told him about the 5-star journey, and then I told him, right now I'm working on, is it good for diabetes? He went through the graph. He had all the time on earth for me, okay, where the doctors didn't have. So he went through that, and he said, you're wasting your time. This is not medicine. This is pure science. The M in MBBS is medicine. So you should spend time with housewives and chefs and show them what all can be made with the green jackfruit. So what he said was, it's pure science because a fibrous meal always translates to low absorption of sugar. That is pure science. Yes, if you can eat it. But what is new here is it's possible to eat an unripe fruit as a meal. You can't eat most fruits when it is unripe as a meal. Look at green mango, green apple. The acidity is very high. But the jackfruit, the acidity is very low. It behaves like potato. So you can eat it as a meal. Okay? So that is what is unique about here. And he said, don't worry about availability or seasonality of jackfruit here. Diabetes is a much bigger problem for India. Even if you have to import jackfruit, you should import it from South America when it is not available here. Go find out, but he made a profound statement. You can't expect rest of India to eat the Kerala purka, the chakka meal, because changing eating habits is like changing religion, or worse than changing religion. So nobody will change their eating habits, so find out a way to add this to what people normally eat. 18 months later, 2 patents, we developed the green jackfruit flour, which you can add a third, replace a third of your roti in atta, you can replace a third. Fulka, you won't have a clue. There is absolutely no change in taste or texture. It'll puff up like the normal fulka. Idli, you make a batter with it and replace 1/3 idli dosa batter. You make a dosa, you won't have a clue. But when you're taking 3 idlis, the 3rd idli is chakka, correct? You're only getting 2 idli. When you're getting 3 fulka, the 3rd fulka is a green. It's a kai, correct? Now let's come to the plate. Okay? So And that is where the Malayalam language came to my help, and the difficulty in English came in help. So American Diabetes Association, so for me to prove this is good for diabetes would have taken me 2 crores and 3 years. But many more jackfruits would be going waste. So what did I do? So I looked at the American Diabetes Association's recommendation. The Mediterranean plate is the best plate on earth, the Mediterranean diet. 50% of the plate should be green. 50% of the plate should be green, 25% should be protein, 25% should be carbohydrate. So you have the salad here with olive oil and vinegar. And then you have the protein, which is the fish. And then you have 2 slices of garlic bread. That's the Mediterranean plate. And what is Indian plate? At least 50% carbohydrate, correct? 25% protein, we get somewhere there. But our sabji is only 25%. The green is only 25%. So 25% of this plate makes 75% of lifestyle diseases. We have doubled our carb, and we have halved our green. So the original Kerala plate was to make jackfruit meal here. So half the plate was the green jackfruit meal. Then you have the protein curry. And then you finish off with a small cup of rice porridge. That was the God's own plate. Okay? So I can't expect the rest of India to eat the God's own plate. So I have to fix this 25% of the plate. What do I do? If I can use the green jackfruit flour in the fulka and the idli, what happens? It's called the grain to green, what do I call? The grain to green, maybe the dance or the switch, the grain to green plate. You do a grain to green switch in the plate, 50% of your plate becomes green. You get your perfect plate, correct? Okay, so that is what we have done with the jackfruit as a flour. You can add this to anything you want. Now I'll come to the entrepreneurship opportunities for anybody who is in wellness or in, so there are multiple studies going on, and there is already published that it can reduce, so basically you are actually cutting off supply from your sugar levels. So it's low calorie, low carb. So which means if you use the carb counting method, you will have to reduce medication. Okay, and then there's a low-calorie diet can reverse diabetes, has been proven. So in December, it's published in Lancet. I don't know how many of you have read that. Very low-calorie diet can reverse diabetes because the pancreatic fat can come down and the insulin production can increase. So this is a low-calorie diet with high satiety. Okay? Because of the fiber and the water content, you feel full for longer. So low-calorie, high satiety. So the study is going on in many hospitals now. In fact, the Ayurveda hospital, which tried this, within 1 week, they could get 15 FPS points down, and in Aluva, okay? And then we have another hospital where they tried it for 4 months. It's already published. 80% of the population had to reduce their insulin dose. 80%. 20% is considered as statistically significant. And more importantly, 60% of them had HbA1c reduction. That is over 3 years, and one of them became non-diabetic. And that is when I went ahead and looked at, is it possible to reverse diabetes? And you can find that information if you look at VLCD, very low calorie diet, reversing diabetes, you will find more about it. But where do we take this from? So now that I've earned the right to go save or break free jackfruit beyond Kerala, that Kerala has now acknowledged it's from a state waste to state fruit, I'm looking at the rest of India, how can I help the rest of India's jackfruits? So WHO's current theme is to reduce lifestyle or non-communicable disease deaths by 1/3. Okay, the mandate is to reduce non-communicable diseases. Beat NCDs is the hashtag. Beat NCDs. But the 2 levers for that is to reduce energy density in food, or energy or calorie in food. So fast foods, the pizzas, the burger, all the processed foods reduce energy density, which is calorie, and increase the availability of vegetable and fruit in food. Okay, make it available and affordable. And when you add the green jackfruit into the processed food, what happens? You reduce the energy density because you reduce the calorie, and you increase the vegetable and fruit intake, correct? So you achieve both ask from WHO in one go with the green jackfruit flour. Okay, so the value addition opportunity is immense. To reduce energy density in most processed foods, as well as to increase vegetable and fruit consumption. Okay, with that I will close. Any doubts? Are the principles clear? All you need to remember is this plate. Okay, where is it available? Okay, so it's available in Amazon, Big Basket, and will be available at Spar in 2 days in Hyderabad. Good question. What is the cost? This is a cup of jackfruit. How much is it worth? Only 10 bucks? It's only worth 10 bucks? This is a cup of jackfruit. It's only 10 rupees. And this can fix 2 plates. So breakfast and lunch. That happened because we had to invent, so the second patent was to a continuous process machine, because the biggest cost was the labor. So I had to put every ounce of engineering into it to reduce the processing cost. So peeling was the biggest cost. So that's how we were able to bring the cost down as well. So now it's massively scalable. So again, speaking of breaking free, right? So when in fact, Anita mentioned about the opportunity and the strong determination. If you look at the story of the humble jackfruit is, it stood up and told me, what is that I can do for you? What is that I have is good for you? So I made the two. Kerala is the diabetic capital of India. Okay? Kerala is the jackfruit capital of India. Through this research, I could connect the two. The biggest supply with the biggest demand. And that is what brought jackfruit into every vegetable shop. When it was falling off, nobody would look at it. But now, every vegetable shop in Kerala is selling the green jackfruit, because who is buying it? The diabetic patients. And that is when the government had to pay attention. It is taken by storm. Supermarket shelves to vegetable shop, it is now. So that is how it came back to the center of the plate. Yeah, but the jackfruit stood up and told me, this is what I am worth for you, or to the world, to the average diabetic patient. So if we can be there and the strong determination to tell the world what is that I am good at and what is that I can do for you, you can break free from anything, as long as you have the strong determination to see it through. So the first processing plant is in Kodamangalam in Kerala. Okay, so I focused on Kerala first because the media campaign, 1 in 2 households in Kerala now knows this is good for diabetes. And so that has to be done for the rest of India now.